Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Tune Up Your Typeform. Very excited to be here. My name is Nico. I'm a developer advocate at Typeform, and I'm going to be the host of the today's Tune Up. Thanks again for showing up. I see a lot of excitement in the chat. Let's get started. So, first, let me tell you that we have a packed agenda. We're going to tell you a bit more about why we're here. What is the whole concept of this tune-up thing? We're going to introduce our tuners, the people that are going to make your forms really shine. And then we're going to go into the details of the tuning time, how they have improved the forms that they were given to take care of. And we're also going to talk about something new that we launched recently. We're going to have a special guest from the Typeform team that's going to introduce us to this Typeform for Talent. Then it will be time for Q&A and hopefully some takeaways of what's happening next. As a reminder, in this type of things, please use the Q&A section to ask all your questions. We have a bunch of folks behind the scenes here to help you out and answer any questions via chat, or we'll bring them on later on in the Q&A section. Use the chat to cheer, use the chat to make some comments. I want to see this whole thing live. And I want to know if this is the first time you're attending also TuneUp, because this is one of our special events. If you don't know what TuneUp is, it's kind of our different format or different take on helping our customers get the most of the Typeform product. So let's say you're bringing a form, you're using Typeform, but it's not the full, you're not taking care of the full product. You don't use the full functionality, but well, we're here to guide you. We're here to give you this little sparkle that will make your form shine. So they will look gorgeous on brand, and you will hopefully get a better answer rate, you'll get better response rates, and reduce the number of drop-off as people are progressing through the form. We're gonna hopefully help you get better data that you can act on and hopefully take decisions based on this. Eventually, we're gonna also help you integrate Typeform into HR workflows, because this is a dedicated session about human resources and how you can use Typeform in all those different use cases. In the past, we've done tune-up where we talk about Typeform in general, and we showed many different use cases. Here, we're focusing specifically on the human resource function. And with this, if you're into this space, or actually if you have experience with HR, I'm sure you went through at least one of those phases, and you can leverage for all those phases. When you need to hire someone, so the first contact when you need to apply for a job, for eventually when people are leaving their details to be contacted on a specific position, once you become an employee and you start to be onboarded, leave your details and information again here to send you the laptop, send you a bunch of swag, all the questions about insurance, whatever type of thing that you can have when you're joining a new company. Then once you're in the company, we want to know how you feel, how you're satisfied about the culture, about the things that the company is running, the different perks, the mood of the company. This is what we do with employee satisfaction. And at the end, another thing that people use Typeform for is the 360 feedback. So let's ask your teammates, how have you been in the last 6 months, the last quarter? How did you perform? What did you think about your behavior, your way of working, so all these type of things. So you can use Typeform on all those things, and we'll show you how, because we have concrete examples from our real customers today. All right, hope that gets you excited. Now, I want to introduce the real stars of the show, the folks that are turning some beats, adding some sparkles again, as I said, to the forum, are tuners. And you're going to see some familiar faces, starting with James. James is our amazing community manager at Typeform. If you've been on some of those shows before, you've seen James around. If you're hanging out in the community forum, you've seen him around. So very happy to have you, James. Can't wait to see what you're tuning. Now, we have Kinsey as well. Kinsey is joining us as a product marketing manager from Typeform. She knows everything about Typeform, how to use it, and how to take care and take advantage of all the new cool features. Very excited to see what Kinsey has for us as well. You may see another familiar faces here. She's also hanging out in the community. It's Grace. She's our amazing customer marketing manager. And again, if you're hanging out in the community, if you're hanging out in those type of shows and webinars, you've probably seen Grace around. And then finally, we have Susie. If you watched any video about Typeform on our Typeform product, you may recognize her voice. You may have seen her teaching you how to use the Typeform product better. So she's the perfect person to help you tune your Typeform. Now, let's introduce also a panel of experts that are helping us specifically on those topics. So we have the people group community run by Typeform here. It's a newsletter. It's a community where people exchange about best practices in the field. And they were able to give us guidance and recommendations on best practices on how to run those things inside a company. So that helped us. We also have Laura and Catherine that are insiders inside Typeform. They do amazing job in the people team at Typeform on how to run operations and people management directly. And so they're using the product, they're using those practice on the 360, the feedback, all this type of thing. And so they were our experts in the room for those topics. All right. Now it's time to tune. We're going to talk about the customers that were happy to give us their forms to be tuned. And I'm very thankful for them. We had a lot of submissions, but sadly we can only pick a few. And we're going to start with Upcounting. So Upcounting is a company that is helping you on the accounting part of your e-commerce business, and they're using a form for hiring. So this is where people apply for a new job, and this is where they share details to hopefully get a job there. So we're going to see that. We're also going to see Chipperfield Physio. They are a mobile physio. So imagine that you need some tuning on your own body. Well, they can come to your house, to your workplace, and help you get this. And here, they're using Typeform to onboard. There are no practitioners and people that are going to work for them. So we're going to see how that looks. And then at the end, also we have Trustsoft, which is an IT company. And here they're using Typeform for employee satisfaction to check on their employee on a regular basis, see how they're feeling at work, and see what they can improve. Finally, we have Acumist that is running a 360 feedback survey here for the whole company. And yeah, we're going to see what they do here. Very happy to have them all here. Thanks again for submitting this. And now let's jump in with our first tune of the day with Upcounting that was tuned by the wonderful James. So as I said, they are using Typeform for hiring. So they are have their forms on the website on the career page where people are going to apply. They go through a bunch of things regarding the process in the interview, but they would like to improve the candidate screening, hopefully being able to surface the best applications and maybe get some general help on things that they can improve. So I want to see what James did and how he helped them tune their form. Oh yes, first let's hear from Sierra, who said that share here that she wants to help us screen candidates and target the best applications. Awesome. James, let's see what you did here.
Hey, it's James here from the Typeform community team. I'm here today to tune up Upcounting's Typeform. So this is a hiring form that they're using to collect information from candidates and to screen them. As you can say, this is the welcome screen. One thing to note, I'm not actually going to change any of the branding on this because I like it. I think it's super on brand, and yeah, maybe there's some tweaks to be made, but I'm not going to go into that today. But I will make some recommendations. So here's the form. Basically, gives some information up front about Upcounting, then talks about what's needed for the role, and just a bit more information about the actual process of applying and filling out the form. Then it collects some contact information, so their full name, their email address, and their LinkedIn address. And then you have a couple of question groups here that are used to help qualify and screen candidates. So for example, how many years of experience? There are different options here. What I love is that they're also using a video question here. to help with the screening. So in this case, it's kind of a use case type question, talking about, when have you experienced this challenge and what did you do, type thing. And that's from one of the founders. So I think that's really cool, and it's a great way of connecting people and bringing them in, giving a face to the company as well. And then a few more screening questions, and then essentially what they're doing at the end of the form is routing people into two places based on if they've sort of passed the screening or not. So they either get a message saying thanks for your time, or they get a message if they've qualified or if they've kind of been approved through the form, explaining that they'll receive an email with a pre-screening form, and then that will kind of all get sent automatically. And this is basically set up via a logic jump here. So after the final question, there's logic here where if these criteria have been met or not met, route them to one of those outcome screens. So that's the current form. I'm going to go through the tuned version now. So as I mentioned, I'm not going to change any of the branding, but I am going to take into account some of the feedback that we got from our HR panel. One of the things that they pointed out was that there's a lot of information up front here. I mean, it's great to kind of set out your stall and explain what's going on, but I think people felt that there was a lot to take in, especially if you've already given some information on the landing page or the job posting page or LinkedIn, whatever. So you could cut this down. You could even include a video intro and put everything in there, and then just narrow it to one statement block. Just a quick thing to point out. You do at the moment have these quotation marks. They can be toggled off here, which kind of makes things look a bit neater. And then for the contact information, you had separate questions. We'd recommend putting everything in here, the first name, the last name, and the email. And I've also turned on data enrichment, as you can see here. Now, Typeform has a feature which is available within Typeform for Talent, where you can automatically pull in data. So there's an integration behind the scenes in Typeform where it will automatically pull in company name, company revenue, company size, etc. And also, importantly, their LinkedIn link. So if you have since you have a LinkedIn question here, what we can actually do is set up a bit of logic whereby it actually skips that question if that's already been pulled in through the data enrichment. So here you see if it contains LinkedIn, then skip that question. So that's an extra friction point removed. I would recommend just adding a bit more information into the LinkedIn question to guide people. I've done this before, actually, when I've asked for LinkedIn information, just to make it easier for people to find where that is. Partial submit point, very, very important. And I can talk about this a little bit. So since you've already grabbed their contact details, and that there's a few questions and perhaps some friction points later in the form, I would put a partial submit point here, which means that as soon as they've entered these details, they will be saved even if they drop out of the form. And then what you can do is set up a workflow, which I can talk about a little bit later, to ping them with a message saying that you haven't filled in your details, please continue. And then with the qualifying questions, I think they're really good. One thing that you can do is to pipe in the name of the person, just to give it a bit more of a personal touch. So that's something you can do. And then obviously you have these questions, these drop downs, which work well. With the video, a piece of feedback that we had, or a couple of pieces of feedback that we had from Danny and Laura on the HR panel, was that it could do with a bit of a CTA here. So you can see, let me show you the current one. Please note that we don't consider applications that don't include a video. We could make that a little bit kind of, turn it more into a CTA so that people don't have to start watching the video and they already know what to do. Our HR panel were a little bit kind of put off. They said that it would have been a friction point, the fact that it was required. So I would consider not making this required, or adding options for audio and text, just in case people aren't comfortable being on video. Another thing you could do, at the moment, you're routing people to either not qualified, or if they're qualified, then you're sending them that follow-up email. You could even add a Calendly block so that people can already schedule a call with you if they're qualified. So Typeform has a built-in Calendly block option. So if via that logic that you set up, they are qualified, you can already have them book in a call, just so you don't lose them and drop out of the system. Another thing I want to mention is the follow-ups features within Typeform. So you can be utilizing these to better follow up with people. As I mentioned before, you can have triggers set up on partial responses. So if somebody doesn't complete the form, but they get to that partial submit point, then obviously you have their email address and you can send them an email, something like this. You can now brand the emails in Typeform, so you can create your own design, add your logo, etc. And you can say something like, thanks for your interest, we noticed that you didn't finish, please go ahead, finish applying. You can put the within the link here, you can put some hidden fields, so you can pipe through the information into the form, so you don't need to ask them the contact details again in the form. They can just jump in and answer those qualifying questions straight away. I noticed that you're already using the follow-ups feature to reply to people who are qualified and that you want to follow up with. There's a couple of kind of optimizations that you can make here. At the moment, you're sending it from the default. You can now actually add your own domain if it's on Gmail, so that the emails come from you directly. And as I just mentioned, you can also edit the emails, so you can apply your own design to this. Add a title. So thanks for filling out the form, or whatever, and then put your follow-up there with your link to your pre-screening Typeform before you get on the call. So you can say something like, thanks for filling it out, looking forward to our call, fill out the screener before you join the call. Yeah, so that's another option that you can do there. So I hope this was helpful. We'll share with you the form. And yeah, congratulations, by the way, on an already great form. It was actually quite difficult to pick holes in this, but I hope I picked the right holes. And yeah, thanks very much.
Amazing. Thank you, James. That was packed. I usually don't watch those recordings, so I want to be impressed by what's going on, and I'm truly impressed. Just look at the list of all the things that got improved in this form, which was already a high quality form. So just imagine. So we looked at like how to reduce the text load. We looked at how to use the contact block, how to use data enrichment. With the data enrichment, I really appreciated a hack that I didn't see before, was how to ask the linking question if the enrichment was not coming already enriched. This is quite new and different. So kudos to you, James, for finding this. We talked about partial submit and how you can follow up with people that didn't go all the way to the end. Did you know that we also store their responses on their device. So if they come back, they don't have to start from the beginning. They can just start from where they left out last time. So this is quite cool too. James added a way to make the form a bit more personal, calling people by their name, just taking advantage of video questions. We looked at the Calendly block to make a booking directly into the form. And then everything you said about customizing the emails and the follow-up, making them branded, sending them from their domains. This is actually some cool new features we launched recently. So it's great to see that live. I don't know if the team of Upcounting is in the room, but hopefully they get excited about this. All right, let us know if you learned something on this, but now it's time to move on already to the next form that we're tuning today. And it's the Chipperfield Physiotherapy, and this is tuned by Kenzie. So as a reminder, Chipperfield Physiotherapy, they're a mobile therapy company that comes to your workspace or to your home to help you with physio needs. And they're onboarding new physios, and they need to learn about different stuff like driver license for practitioners, all these type of things. And they're using a form for this to onboard those employees. And they have a few questions regarding aesthetics of the form and how to ask the questions in a better way. So let's jump in with Kenzie and see what she tuned and how she tuned their forms.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kenzie, and I'm a senior product marketing manager here at Typeform. And I had the pleasure of tuning up Chipperfield Mobile Physio and Wellness's new employee onboarding form. And let me tell you, they honestly made my job a little bit tough because they had such a solid foundation for a form. So I'm going to click through their existing form, and right away, you're going to see that they did a great job at setting the expectation for new hires up front. The form I actually found to be really well structured. I thought it had a nice flow, and it already reflected a lot of the brand elements that you want to see, like fonts and colors. Honestly, if they kept the form as is, it's going to get the job done efficiently. They're going to be able to capture all of the key info that they need to get somebody set up in their system. But after seeing their submission video and taking a look at their website, I realized that this form is just hitting the foundations. And knowing that this team has a culture that's so warm and energetic and people first, I think that they deserve a forum experience that is just as welcoming and on brand as their business is. And I really want that to shine through this experience because onboarding forums can just be about collecting data, but I really think that they have the opportunity to be an awesome first impression for your business and your new hire. So let's take a look at what I did. First, I added a welcome video to the intro screen. This is a great opportunity to bring your team to life and also reinforce the company's values before you actually have your new hire dive into the form. I'm just going to play you the little sample.
Welcome to Chipperfield Physio and Wellness. We're so glad you're here. We're a passionate team of health professionals.
Okay, obviously I made this using AI, so it's a little cheesy. But I think you get the idea that it just sets the tone for the rest of the forum experience that somebody's going to have. And I'm confident that the Chipperfield team could create something way more authentic and heartfelt. Next, I wanted to make it more clear up front what the new hire should have on hand. So as I went through the survey, I saw that there was a lot of information that was required, things like licenses that needed to be uploaded and specific membership or practitioner numbers. And so I think if we can give all of that context up front, it's going to save new hires the hassle of having to stop to dig those things up as they're filling out the form. I also wanted to reorganize the flow ever so slightly. I didn't remove any questions. Obviously, all this information is very important, but I just reordered them just ever so slightly to start with the more quick, low effort questions. And I wanted to save things like uploads and more detailed asks for later, just to help keep the momentum and also reduce friction. Tone-wise, you're going to see that I gave the language a small but impactful refresh. I really wanted to make it feel more informal and personal and conversational. So things like adding the employee's first name wherever appropriate, or swapping out stiff copy for more just friendly, lighthearted language is going to make it feel more like a human interaction and less like you're talking to a robot or a formal process. And then obviously you can see that I also added these beautiful photos from their website This is just going to make it feel even more branded and engaging. And then for efficiency, I grouped a few of the more logistical questions onto one screen. Um, you'll see here, this is like where they're asking for a bunch of different numbers and information, and this is just going to help to reduce that form fatigue as well. Moving on to some of the fun stuff. For the Tell Us About Yourself question, I wanted to upgrade this to a video question and answer. So I'm just going to show you a sneak peek of what this could look like if they were to implement this on their form. Now let's get to know a little bit more about you, whether that's your favorite ice cream flavor or a fun trip you took last summer, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. It's just a great opportunity. So obviously, this is a great opportunity to showcase your brand through your team. They are the culture carriers for your business. It's a great icebreaker, and it just makes the whole forum feel a little bit more engaging when you're actually talking to a person and not just reading every single prompt. And by providing them with the opportunity to respond however they feel most comfortable, whether that's a video, audio, or text answer, you're going to make this experience even more accessible and inclusive. And just following the theme of the fun questions, I wanted to keep everything intact. And there was some awesome questions about scheduling your headshots or selecting your t-shirt sizes, but I wanted to give them a little bit of a boost with some more casual language and then visuals to match the brand tone as well. And then I wrapped the form up with a final screen that points to helpful resources and next steps so that once you get to the end of this form experience, you're not just feeling like you're getting dropped off of a cliff when you hit submit. You actually have some other steps that you can take, like learning more about the team or checking out your services, whatever that may be. Maybe it's just links to the next onboarding step or just confirmation of when they will hear from you about next steps. So in the end, the form is still the same. Like I said, I think they did such a great job at putting only the most relevant questions in there. It's going to do the same job in terms of getting them to get the information that they need to get a new employee up and running. But it certainly is a little bit more welcoming and on brand, and it's going to really help set the tone for that employee as they get onboarded with Chipperfield. And that really is the power of a thoughtful type form. I appreciate you tuning in, and I can't wait to hear what the team thinks. Thank you.
This was awesome. Learning a lot of things, and I'm not a physiotherapist, but I feel like I want to be one just so I can go through this form and submit my application, right? I love this experience. Love that we talked about branding and the tone of your form. This is your opportunity to be yourself, to express the way you are representing your company, your values. So take this as an opportunity everywhere you're talking to your customer. Is it in the title, in the description, the funny, quirky stuff? This is the right place. We added, Kenzie added a welcome video. You take advantage of this at the beginning of the form. You can put video in all of the different questions. We also saw a video question. So this is also the opportunity to present yourself personally there, as we saw earlier. And a lot of things around the visuals and the resources at the end of the form, as well as like what's happening next, how you can continue getting engaged before you start date. So really exciting stuff. Really curious to see what you thought about this tune, but loved it. Now it's already time to move to our third tuning of the day. It's the company Trustsoft, and it's Grace that took care of this form. And here, they're using Typeform for employee satisfaction. So this is something, I guess, that's sent on a regular basis to check the pulse of the employees and how they feel. They're looking to get a better response rate and reduce the drop-off, and hopefully maybe integrate this into Slack. But let's hear from the team.
Hello, this is Adam, and this is my colleague Eva. We are the HR team from Trustsoft, and we are super glad that our form was selected for this workshop. The idea behind our form is
to collect feedback as simple as possible, just to know the opinion, how the people here are, what they want to change, and what they are missing. We just want them to contribute on what's happening in the company.
And unfortunately, we are full of technical people in our company, and not all of them find it that interesting. So last time we collected only like 25 responses, even though we are like 100 people in Trustsoft. So that's the challenge, to improve this number and get more results. And yeah.
Yeah. And this is also what we want from you. We want to know your opinion because one of our values is become better than yesterday.
Hey everyone, my name's Grace from the Typeform community team. Hope you're enjoying the tune-up so far. I had the pleasure of tuning this form from Trustsoft. So they've created a really cool employee satisfaction survey and just wanted a little bit of help with refining it just to make sure that they are getting as many responses as possible. So we worked with our HR Pro panel who are absolutely awesome, and they gave some really great feedback on this. So this is the original form. As you can see, it's really nicely branded, so it didn't really have to play around with the design too much. But they're using quite a lot of long text questions. So the feedback we had was perhaps to think a little bit about the tone of the form. So it's quite formal. So we can make some adjustments there, and maybe think as well about the general flow of the questions, so that we can make it as easy to use as possible for anybody that's going to take the survey. So let's go into the workspace, and here are the updates that we made. So first up, on the welcome screen, we've made a few adjustments. So we've reduced the text slightly, given it a very clear call to action, and added in a rough timeline for how long the survey is going to take, which I think is always helpful for people, just to kind of get over that barrier. It's not going to take me too long. And then the other thing that we have suggested here is to add in a video from maybe the CEO or someone on leadership, just to talk about what the survey is about and why the feedback is so important and what the team is going to do with it. We think that will really help to engage employees from the start, and just give it a bit more of a human touch, so people really feel like whatever feedback they're going to share is important and is going to be useful. Then we've split the questions up into different sections, and we're using statement questions to kind of mark those different sections so people know what's coming next, and added in a few images along the way just to give it a bit more of a visual flair. And then we're using the opinion scale question here to get these ratings from people. And on the visual side, again, you could use kind of text markers here, where it could be really bad for 0 or absolutely amazing for 10. But we've decided to go for emojis, just for something a bit different, because sometimes that can kind of be a bit more emotive, and it might sort of inspire you to give it an opinion in a different way. So we thought that was kind of a fun additional thing to add in and make it slightly less formal. If we have a look in the workflow tab, you can see that we have added some logic to some of these opinion questions. So based on how they're answering, especially for sort of satisfaction style questions, if they're answering quite low, then the next question really should be, is there an improvement to be made? What would that be? Versus if they're answering high, then just great to get a bit of feedback about what it is that they love so much. So that hopefully will make more sense then for the person that's responding to the survey. So one other thing that we decided to add in, and I will go into the live version here, is at the end, we decided to use a clarify with AI question, which is a relatively new question type for Typeform. And this should just help get a little bit more information from the employee. So I'll show you how it works. So if you could change one thing about your experience at Trustsoft, what would it be? I'm going to say the lunch options. Imagine they've got a canteen, and that's what I care about the most. So I'll say lunch options, and then it will automatically generate a follow-up question to dig into my answer. So how could it be improved? More veggie options. And that will ask one more question just to really kind of drive it home and make sure it's getting the most out of me. Which specific vegetarian options? Veggie curry. And what that does, it means the tendency here is that you might just give a one-word answer. And so it really helps you to kind of think more deeply about what the question is and what you're being asked. So I think it's a good one to add into a feedback form. And then finally, we did add this checkbox option. This is another relatively new feature for Typeform, and it just will kind of help to re-emphasize the fact that this is an anonymous survey and what they have put, counts. So if there's any kind of particular privacy policy, you could link out to it here. You can edit the text depending on what your feedback form is all about and the message that you're trying to drive home. And then one final thing to mention is that Adam did say that they would be interested in integrating with Slack. So in the Workflows tab, we've added in a Slack follow-up. So it basically means anytime somebody responds to the Typeform, then they're gonna get pinged in the Slack channel that they've set up for this. I mean, this is obviously a test version of this, but it would mean that they get a ping in Slack, which is probably where they're more likely to be. They know that a new response has come through, so they can hop into Typeform and check that out. So hopefully this has been useful, and we're excited to hear what you all think. And if you've got any questions, let us know in the chat.
Amazing. Thank you, Grace. That was a lot of improvements. I think there's the second form that we see that has a video as a welcoming screen. I'll say this is probably a recommendation in the trend now. You can check all the recommendation and all the tuning that Grace did over here. Check the form. We'll send the link too. Now we are moving to our last tuning of the day with Susie, who tuned the form from Acumist. So Acumist, they're using this for a 360 review, and they want to get more meaningful conversation and hopefully do some stuff on the design. So let's check what Susie did over here on their form. But first, let's hear from the founder. So they're looking to make the form a bit more engaging. So the staff is excited to complete it. And it's a good starting point for the annual review conversation.
Hey everyone, I am Susie. I am the video educator here at Typeform. And today I am going to tune this form for Acumist. So I'm going to take you through the form a little bit, and then I will take you through the tuned up version that I did. Okay, so this is the original form. So first off, the first thing you notice is the branding. So this is, I would say, partially branded. They do have the Acumist logo here. Otherwise, the text and the button color, these are all the Typeform default colors. I know that because I work at Typeform. Maybe other people wouldn't, but there is definitely room here to make it more of their own. And then they have this background image. It's maybe a little bit busy for self-evaluation, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so this form, as you can see, it has quite a few questions, which is totally fine. This is a self-evaluation, so you want to make sure that you're being thorough. But there are some questions. So number 9, for example, you're basically asking 2 questions within the same question. So these can be a little bit challenging to answer as a respondent because you're not really sure which question to focus on. And then the same, there's also this question. So question 11, what elements of your job interest you the most and which the least? So again, this is kind of a double-barreled question. And I think to help make your life easier as the employer, it would be in their interest to separate this into kind of a positive and a negative question instead of bucketing them both into one. And that way it's just easier to interpret the results. So yeah, essentially they're mostly short text questions. And then here at the top, you can see, for example, this question overall, how has the past year been for you? Maybe it's not super clear, or maybe these 3 answers don't encompass very well how the person actually felt over the past year. And then in the follow-up 3 questions, so they did use recall information, which is great. They recalled that first name from the contact info question, which is here. So that's nice to help personalize the form. There is also a missed opportunity here for recall information. So instead of having to put 3 separate questions about good, bad, and satisfactory, you could actually just erase that and then recall information. Then you're recalling information from question 2, and that way it automatically recalls what they said in question 2. You don't have to worry about having 3 separate questions and then setting up that logic on that question, which is what they did here, which is a great use of logic, and it's exactly how it's intended to be used. But In this case, actually, you could have done without it if you used recall information. So overall, the form is pretty good. I think what's lacking mostly is a bit of branding, a bit of structure. So that is exactly what I did. So let's go to the new form. Voila. Okay, so this is the form that I tuned. So right off the bat, first thing you can see, the first thing you notice is the branding. So what I did is I actually changed the colors. In the form, I used the Acumist logo colors, and I used those as the text color and the button color, so that kind of brings it all together. And then I chose this nice kind of calming blue background. I think when you're doing a self-reflection, it's good to kind of be zen and really focused. So I think maybe this background is a little bit more, a little bit less distracting, sorry. And then, so the main thing I did is I did reword some questions. I shuffled them around a little bit, but I also added more structure to the form. When you're filling in a form of this length, it's really important to know what's coming. Otherwise, you do get bored or you're like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? So having a bit of structure and telling people what to expect, I think is really good practice for these kinds of forms. Okay, so the first question again, I left this one just fine. Contact details. And then I added a statement question. So I kind of separated the questions into 3 different categories. One was about personal performance, then another category about culture, and then some plans for the future. So all of these questions were in the form, but I just kind of shuffled them around to be grouped together, and that way people can stay focused on one topic before moving on to the next. There were also a couple questions about the company itself and attitudes towards the company, which I thought was maybe out of place in a self-reflection, so I did take some of those out. But I left most of the questions in and just kind of reworded them and changed them up a little bit. So let's take a look at some of these sections. So the first one is the self-reflection about work and performance. So here, one thing I did was I added a rating question. So you remember before, if I just go back here, before it was just how has the year been for you, good, bad, or satisfactory. So in this example here, in the tuned up version, we have a bit more of a range of how they felt their overall performance was, and it's a bit more specific to their performance. So that means you're getting more meaningful information from them instead of just a good, bad, okay type of answer. Then there's another question. So I think in the original form, there was a question about, do you understand clearly what your role is and what is expected of you? Please provide details. Again, this is kind of like a double-barreled question because they could just say yes and then move on. So here, what I did is I made that into a yes or no question. And that way, if they say yes, they can move on. And if they say no, then they're prompted to elaborate a little bit more on what part of their role or the expectations are not clear. Okay, so here I basically grouped all the questions that were about opinions about their work specifically into this section. Now, the next section is more about company culture. And this section is a little bit more about the surroundings and not necessarily your personal work, but maybe how the surroundings affect your work. So here I added a question outside of the actual work. What do you enjoy most about working here? So I did kind of switch up a question that was originally in their form. But as you can see, this question is not just a normal short text question. This is a clarify with AI question type. So here you can see clarify with AI. So what does that mean? That means that if you have a question that has potential for a vague answer, this clarify with AI will ask up to 2 follow-up questions to help clarify what somebody responded. So let's go quickly and do a little preview of this question, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've just scrolled through to reach this question. So if you say, outside of the actual work, what do you enjoy most about working here? So let's say I just give a response that says the people. Okay, so yeah, okay, the people, that's an answer, but what about the people? So here the AI has asked a follow-up question. How do your colleagues contribute to a positive work environment? So here, let's say they are all really nice and supportive and collaborative. So here, this has prompted me already to give more specific details about what I'm talking about here. And then It'll ask up to 2 follow-up questions. So here again, it's what specific collaborative experiences have you found most valuable? So maybe I say, I thought working on this XYZ project was really great. Okay, so now you have much more information than if you were just to ask in a short text question how somebody feels about something. So I would say this clarify with AI question is really, really great. Maybe it's not great to put in every single short text question, which is why I didn't replace every single short text question with a clarify with AI. But if you can maybe foresee the questions where people might have more vague answers or maybe are less willing to share and you think you could prompt them, then clarify with AI is really a great tool to use and a great question type to use in this scenario. And then finally, we have the third section, which is about the future. So this is about goals and what they see for themselves in the future. So here I've added a video answer. So this basically lets respondents answer via video, audio, or text. So here the question is, where would you like to see your professional career headed within the next year? So maybe somebody's really passionate about where they see their career going, where they see themselves headed in the company, and they want to say that on camera. So this is a really great opportunity to let people respond on video, and you have a lot more context to how they're feeling and where they want their career to go. Of course, not everybody will want to answer on video, so you can also provide the audio and text answer. And as you can see on the side here, you have the option to toggle any of those on and off. And then again, one final video and audio answer, which is if there's anything else that we missed or anything else that you'd like to share that wasn't covered here. Again, we're giving them the opportunity to respond via video and audio and text. So again, this could be the perfect opportunity for someone to just share what's on their mind, and that will give you as the HR manager or whoever's in the role of reviewing this to really get more context into how people are feeling. So that is my tuned up version of the Acumist form.
Awesome. If you guys don't know me, my name is Ahikioya, and I lead product marketing at Typeform. And next slide, please. We saw some really amazing tune-ups, and I'm really excited to dive a little bit deeper into the Typeform for Talent plan. The reason why we've named this Typeform Talent Edition is because we are launching a new solution, which is Typeform for Talent. I saw a few questions in the chat asking what exactly is talent? How do you define it? So at Typeform, we define talent as being the entire employee experience from hiring, onboarding, development, and engaging. And with that, we built a really powerful solution that encompasses the best of our AI features, our video features, and our interactive forms. And so you've seen that sprinkled out in a few of the tune-ups today, but I'll dive a little bit deeper into some of the benefits and the features that you saw. The first is our AI features. So AI, as we all know, is very important for all of our workflows. And so we've baked in that into this talent plan as well. So you'll see from Creator AI to Interaction AI, Smart Insights, how this can be beneficial for your talent and HR needs as you're embedding this AI to make a lot of your processes more automated and less manual. Next slide. Secondly, it's like, how do you bring that personal touch? And Typeform has amazing video capabilities from our video answers and video questions where you're able to embed video directly into the forms, as well as having response logic. So being able to choose a tailored path for your candidates or your employees as they're going through select forms. And so the idea here is like, how do we bring more human personal touch to these forms as you're trying to hire your talent, onboard your talent, or just engage with your employees to date. Next slide. And this is very important we know that HR teams and talent teams are oftentimes resource constrained. And so they're small and mighty teams that have big mandates and are responsible for a lot. And so a key component of this Typeform for Talent plan is that you're getting all of this baked into one platform. So it's a unified workspace where you're able to set up forms for hiring, onboarding, training, and engagement, all on a single platform, and also bring in any type of quizzes you'd like. So if you want to set up quizzes to assess learning or check if there's any skills gaps, you can do that with some of our features as well. And you have access to that with our Typeform for Talent plan. Next slide. And also a very important aspect of Typeform in general, but also specifically for Typeform for Talent is how do we keep the look and feel of your company, of your brand? And so we've brought in a lot of our existing features from custom branding, custom domains, and form designer. So you're able to create the look and feel that best suits your persona, that best suits your company and how you want to present yourself. Next slide. And with that, I'll finish off with 2 slides. This is also a very important slide. So if you want to learn more about Typeform for Talent and understand all of the features that are offered, I went through a few, but there are a ton more. Navigate to typeform.com/pricing and click on the Talent Plan tab. And from there, you'll see all of the features, the feature matrix, as well as the opportunity to get started today and sign up for Typeform for Talent. Next slide, we'll move 2 slides forward. One more slide. And we'll land here. So take a few moments and screenshot the slide or start clicking on the QR codes with your camera. The first is a recording and a slide deck. So once this is finished, we will share the recording and there's a slide deck available here. The second is to give feedback. We'd love to know what tune-ups we should do next. Are there things you want to see? Are there other features that you'd love for us to go through in another tune-up session? And the third and the most important is we're offering a 30% off coupon for anyone that signs up for Typeform for Talent. So we'll stay on this slide, take an opportunity to just take a shot of any of these that you'd like. And with that, I'd love to thank the team just for their hard work in bringing this all together, and also the tuners that tuned up these forms. And yes, leave any questions or comments in the chat, and we'll follow up in our community and possibly through an email as well for any questions that we didn't answer today. Thank you for your time and being here. And with that, we'll close it out.
Bring your form and make it shine. Better flow, smarter logic, good vibes, only time to tune up. Cluttered screens and broken flows. Too many clicks, too many no's. We see the mess, but that's our cue to level it up and guide it through. Tune up, we make it right. Give your form that extra life. Tune up, now watch